It started like any other Tuesday. Sunshine glinted off the waxed hood of the Flex and Fresh van. Birds chirped. Tony bench-pressed a haunted sledgehammer behind the van. Jesse was oiling his hair with unicorn tear serum and humming Beyoncé. Then Jesse said it. "Tony, I think we should start taking commercial gigs." Tony froze mid-rep. The ground trembled. The sledgehammer thudded into the dirt. "Commercial?" he repeated, slowly turning, sweat glistening on his boulder-sized shoulders. "Like ads?" "Yeah," Jesse said, fiddling with his sleeve cuff. "TV spots, brand deals, we're iconic. People love us. Imagine it. Jesse, the face of supernatural cleanliness. You could sell protein powder to ghosts." Tony dropped the barbell. A crack split the pavement. "I didn't get into paranormal sanitation to do ads, Jesse. I did it to clean evil. With these." He flexed. A passing hawk crashed into a tree from intimidation. Jesse blinked. "Tony, you think I don't want to clean evil? I just think we could be cleaner and famous." Tony's voice dropped low. "It's always about your hair, isn't it?" Jesse stepped back like he'd been slapped. "Excuse me? You're always spritzing, posing, rapping. What about the work? The scrubbing, the mopping? What happened to elbow grease?" Jesse's hands trembled. "What happened to style, Tony? We're not just brute force, we're elegance. We're the finesse in Flex and Fresh." Tony stared at him. "Maybe that's the problem." The silence that followed was heavier than any haunted dumbbell Tony had ever lifted. "Maybe we should take a break," Jesse said, voice shaking. "Fine by me," Tony muttered. And just like that, Flex and Fresh was no more. 3 weeks later. The once unstoppable Tony sat alone in his cabin gym. The punching bag was untouched, his mop gathered dust in the corner, his muscles, still magnificent, had dulled slightly from disuse. He now lifted only in flashbacks. He stared into a mirror, whispering, "Mop, I don't even know who I am without him." Meanwhile, Jesse sat in a penthouse suite surrounded by unopened hair products and unopened feelings. His hair had lost its glow. He hadn't rapped in days. His last verse had been sad and rhymed moisturizer with "Why's her absence traumatizer?" He stared out the window, murmuring, "Tony would have never let me split end like this." He tried calling. Tony didn't pick up. He left voicemails. "Hey, I saw a haunted bowling alley. Thought of you." Then, "Remember when we waxed that ghost bus? That was wild." And finally, "I miss your mop. I miss your triceps. I miss us." Then came the day the world needed them again. A dimensional rift tore open above a laundromat in Cleveland. Dirty socks with teeth poured out. The sky turned yellow. The news begged, "Where is Flex and Fresh?" But Jesse, hair limp and heartbroken, just stared at the TV. And Tony just did push-ups with a sigh. Would they reunite? Would Tony lift again? Would Jesse's hair find its bounce? That is for the next chapter. But for now, the world spun slightly filthier, and somewhere in the dark, 2 broken bros cleaned. Nothing. Yet. Flex and Fresh, the reunion buffeting. It began with a scream from the moon. Not the sky, the actual moon. It screamed. A crack split its surface, releasing a psychic wave of mildew so foul that half of North America's dry cleaners caught fire simultaneously. Haunted garments rained from the sky, pants with vengeance, cursed cardigans, socks that never stopped screaming. The world turned to the only team that could fix it. But Flex was off the grid, and Fresh, lost in a sea of detangler and regret. Meanwhile, at Muscle Hermit Cabin Trademark, Tony sat on a rock the size of a small SUV, skipping kettlebells across a haunted pond. His once unstoppable arms had only 14 visible veins instead of 18. He had a beard now. It was angry. He hadn't touched a mop since the fight. But in the silence, he heard a whisper, a familiar voice. "Stay silky, baby." Tony looked up, standing at the edge of the woods. Hair glimmering again, coat longer than morally reasonable, high tops shining like vengeance in moonlight, was Jesse. "Tony," Jesse said, voice cracking, "I'm not fresh without you." Tony stood slowly. The earth trembled. A tree burst into respectful flames. "You came back?" Jesse nodded. "I tried solo rapping. It was all sad bars and cold showers. The bounce wasn't there. You're the lift, man." Tony's throat tightened. "I haven't flexed since you left. Not really. I tried to lift a spectral barbell last week and it just phased through me." They stared at each other. And then, without warning, Tony crushed a tree in half with a hug. Jesse dove in. Muscles and moose collided. Triceps met tears. The bond reforged, one protein-packed embrace at a time. 1 hour later, they suited up in silence. Tony's arms glistened with lemon-scented oil. Jesse's pompadour bounced with righteous fury. Their van's engine growled like a possessed lion. On the roof, a new motto painted in bold gold letters. "You got slime, we got time." The moon battle. They launched straight into orbit. That's right, into space. On the moon, a horde of vengeful laundry monsters, possessed by ancient dryer demons, waited. Jesse parachuted into battle with dual spray bottles. Tony rode a meteor and landed fists first. Clothes exploded. "Tony! Do I still have curl integrity?" Tony snapped a towel like a whip, decapitating a sock ghost. "Your bounce is transcendent." Together, they unleashed the Cleansequake Supreme, a shockwave of disinfectant so pure it erased 300 years of regret from a nearby satellite. The final boss, the Lint Queen, rose from a crater. "You boys smell like loyalty," she hissed, "and shampoo." "Wrong!" Jesse shouted. "We smell like revenge, baby!" Tony tackled her. Jesse dropped bars. "You thought we broke, but now we shine. Two gods reborn in lemon and pine. My hair's rebounced, our bonds remade. We wiped dimensions with a squeegee blade." The Lint Queen imploded from lyrical purity. Aftermath. Back on Earth, the people rejoiced. Tony carried Jesse down the van ramp like a freshly shampooed princess. Jesse, drained but glorious, rested his head on Tony's shoulder. "I knew you'd lift again," Jesse murmured. Tony grunted. "You're my forever curl." Jesse's eyes closed. He whispered, "Stay silky, baby," and fell asleep in the arms of a man whose mop could suplex a demon, and whose heart had finally flexed again.